everybody. You are listening to the History Boys. I am Christopher Whedon, and I am, as usual, a history boy.
I'm Tyler Armentrout. I'm a history boy, and I'm a big fan. I'm a big rule follower. I'm a big I'm
Yep.
I'm not a leader. So when curveballs come my way, it really freaks me out. So hello, folks. I don't know.
And that was very soft spoken, like an NPR host.
And I'm Jerry Nash, your humble history boy. As always, thank you so much for listening. Today, gang, we got you a part 2 of the Hawaiian annexation. It's a big story. It's a complicated story. Well, last week we left with sort of, we talked about the stakes, what all of these sugar barons, what was at stake for them. They had all of this land, all of this money that could be made if they could just get at it, right? And if they could just get it more and more and more of it, they could make more and more money.
Yeah,
right?
if you completely ruin the lives and the land of the indigenous people, you can make buttloads of money.
Yeah, and they could make even more money if they didn't have to pay. Yeah, if they didn't have to pay the tariffs and the duties of shipping it to the United States specifically. That we sort of went through that. We went through all the Kamehamehas beforehand, just so you kind of understand what is happening.
You had your Kamehameha, you had your ultimate Kamehameha, your family Kamehameha, your perfect Kamehameha. I've selded that one. The one-handed Kamehameha that Gohan did to defeat Cell, though his dad helped, but he was actually dead, so I think it was moral support.
Welcome to the DBZ cast, folks.
Right. Yeah, let's get it out of your system.
No. How long have you known me? Do you think it's physically possible to get Dragon Ball Z out of my system?
No.
We did cover King Destructo Disc last week.
Yes.
Or last time.
Yeah, right. The United States.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this week I want to talk about the last queen of Hawaii, Lili'uokalani. For short, we're gonna call her Lili'u.
Because we ain't got all day.
Yeah. So let's just get into it. You kind of know the background. Let's get into it. This will give you more of it. This will really give you a sense of what the Native Hawaiians are looking at versus what these, Haole are looking at, right? So Lili'uokalani was born on September 2nd, 1838.
Cool. Birthday's
Way
coming
better
up.
than 9/11.
That's true.
I believe a fellow Virgo.
Correct.
Um,
I'm a Virgo. No
not
big
that
deal, no.
makes a lick of difference either which way. And every time I've said that, by the way, they've been like, that's what a Virgo would say. It's like, okay.
Every sign thinks
Okay.
astrology's bullshit, turns out.
Yeah.
Except for when it's your sign and it's like totally something that like benefits you, and then you're like, yeah, it is kind of like me. Or to all the single people out there, when you're dealing with somebody that you really want to have sex with, but they're way into astrology, you're like, yes, all of this is true. I totally agree.
Yep. Yes.
Yes, be very cynical about your beliefs.
I don't have beliefs. I just know what I don't believe in.
Food goes in here, comes out here.
End of discussion. I consider
For the
myself
folks at home, I pointed at my mouth when I said food goes in here.
Yeah, I consider myself a bit of a cosmic citizen, so
Yeah.
that's it. Diogenes, but I also like
Yeah. According to culture, this was totally normal. She was actually given to someone who was above her station to be raised. This is some way like Crusader King shit, like when you have a child and you send them off to be raised by someone else. That's what it is.
That's
and,
a mechanic in the
her
game.
foster parents were definitely, her parents. She met her real parents much later. And like her brother went, she had sisters and brothers, and they went other places too.
That's such
Not
like
that
a
they were
royalty
totally part.
thing.
Yeah,
Like, that's a thing that royalty people do. I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's
Actually,
among the
no.
elite.
That's a thing that really rich people and really poor people deal with.
give their children to somebody else.
Yeah, they give their children
Can
to
you
somebody
raise
else, and
this?
then
Yeah.
I don't feel like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at a young age, they took her kicking and screaming to the missionary boarding school.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. I wouldn't want to go there either. Sounds fucking
to be schooled by the missionaries. They didn't really feed them very well, from what she talks about. Like, they're like, yeah, we got like a slice of toast with like molasses on it in like the evening, and like, yeah, right. And like
Mother Teresa would have loved this place.
Right.
The victims of the molasses flood, probably not as much. Yeah. That's the last thing they fucking want to see.
I was going to say, you know who else would like that? Probably me when we were recording the molasses flood of 1919.
Yeah, right.
Because that whole time it's like, molasses. But knowing that if I wasn't there, if I was her and I wasn't there, I could be, I don't know, eating like a whole pig with an apple in its mouth.
That sounds way better
a pineapple
than a fucking cracker with molasses.
Yeah.
Or like a Loco Moco.
Ooh, Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
And then, well, after that, she went to a school that at the time taught other Ali'i, so that's like kind of what it was for. Later, it was changed into, just a normal school. Actually, they changed the name of it and all that, but it's a very storied school. And I believe Barack Obama went there. I believe.
So it's in Kenya?
I think that's true. No, it's in Hawaii. He was born in Hawaii, folks.
Yeah, but it was secretly
Don't get me started.
A Muslim school. You can tell us, right?
Yeah, no, right.
Yeah.
Oh god, and that's another thing. Like, don't think that like these people are wearing like grass skirts and shit. Like that's completely false.
Well, that's for special occasions,
right?
Like a luau.
Yeah, exactly. It's traditional stuff that they would wear for special occasions, right? But they wouldn't wear that all the time. Even Lili'uokalani wouldn't even wear that at special occasions. She would wear like her updated, queenly garb. There's like a sash.
Yeah, she wore a grass pantsuit.
Yeah, there you go.
I was gonna say she's like I'm a queen. I'm not fucking some dash topper for somebody's like car.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what those are called. Clearly,
the hula dash.
Yeah, the hula dash girl.
I mean, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dash topper, dash wobbler.
Yeah. Yeah, her siblings, like Princess Lili'uokalani. Later, one of her other sisters was named Bernice Bishop because she married a Haole. That's something that, like, the really, like, money Haole, they would try to marry into the royalty.
Did they take a first name, too? Like,
okay, let me explain that. So, everyone is given a white name, like an anglicized name. So, like, for example, Lili'u was given the name Lydia.
Oh.
So that was her, to the white people, she was called Lydia,
Like Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I was going to say she's like, and my mission in life will be to teach people things on the internet, like online tutorials, to go to my website, lydia.com, maybe teach you how to edit some videos or, do Photoshop or something.
Yeah.
Also Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
Princess Lili'uokalani actually gave birth to Princess Ka'iolani, who was later going to be the heir apparent to the throne. There could honestly be a whole episode dedicated to Princess Ka'iolani. There's a movie with characters, depicting events that we're about to talk about, where Princess Ka'iolani is the main character.
Oh.
So yeah, we could do a whole episode on that.
That's cool.
We're barely going to talk
I saw
about her. And there's
once.
Is that Lilo and Stitch?
No. There's
I know they're in Hawaii in that one.
Yeah. There's a lot of events we're going to talk about that could honestly be their own episodes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of this stuff I'm going to kind of gloss over because we're talking about this whole thing as a whole, right? Back to Lili'u. She had an accident early in life as a child that made her walk with a permanent limp.
Oh, no.
So she always walked with a limp.
But you should see the other guy.
The accident when she beat some guy's ass.
No, it was an accident. As she was sort of growing up, and becoming like a teenager, there would be all of these, occasions where the royalty would come out, the Ali'i would come out. And yeah, they would be courted sometimes by the like really rich upper crust Haole, and it was no different with her. Because it does kind of put you into like an upper tier. You could be rich all day, but you'll never be royalty, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So there was a cavalry commander named John Owen Dominus who started courting, basically, Lili'u. And what he did, like, their courtship, it was very short, but, like, after this, like, soiree, he, like, walked her home and insisted on, like, you know, taking her home, even though he fell off of his horse and injured himself really horribly.
The whole time he's talking about Jordan Peterson.
Yeah. Yeah, he took her home, and I guess that was the, you know, that was all. You know, that was all it took, I guess. But it was pretty much a loveless marriage. It was really more access to sort of power, prestige kind of a thing. John Dominus, he was kind of a mama's boy. He lived with his mom, who was this old lady, and she was way against the marriage because it was interracial.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he was straight up marrying royalty, you know.
Yeah, that reminds me, like the thing with they're coming back from England, and there's all that racism targeted them, but they were like,
oh yeah,
to the whites, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like the mom was also royalty because she was a royal pain in the ass. Right, guys?
Nice.
Old racist.
Yes, indeed. But they ended up getting married. They, like I said, it was loveless. They didn't actually really spend a ton of time together. They wouldn't have any children together, even though John Dominus was, you know, his infidelity caused, I think, 3 children, illegitimate children, to appear.
So they weren't sleeping together. That's what I'm hearing.
No, not really. No.
The toughest part about being in an interracial marriage and being a philanderer is you have to constantly be sleeping with women of different races so you don't seem like you're a racist. And that's something that he had to do a lot. You know, you do a white one, then you do a black one, then maybe do a white one, then you do an Asian one. You got to
it's all planned out.
Flipping it.
Yeah, that's not racist in of itself.
Well,
yeah. Turns out he was a total racist. I would imagine the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Right.
And, you know.
He's like doing mathematics to figure out what race he should have sex with. He's so racist.
He would later be made governor of Oahu just through his connections, right? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where, like, marrying in to the elite, that's where, like, it takes you. You can straight up become a governor. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it was all about. Lili'u, she was actually at the deathbed of, I believe, all 3, Alexander, Liholiho, and Lot, and Lunalilo. She was at the deathbeds of all of them. I know she was at the deathbed of Lunalilo's because she was picked from birth, is what she says in her book, to be there for him as he died, which is incredible. I didn't know they did that. But
that's crazy. What if you don't make it the whole way?
You gotta find somebody else.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Like, I guess they find somebody else.
Yeah, that's an interesting.
It's interesting that they choose you sort of from birth to. It's like, okay, now when this guy dies, you got to, like, be there and you got to look after him. You know.
Yeah. Like, what if you like
then
hate
that guy's
that
gotta
guy?
Spare no expense to, like, if they get into a car accident, to make sure they get a full recovery. You're like, you got to be here when I die, and I'm not going to let you die until I'm dying.
Yeah, because if that person who's supposed to take care of you dies, nobody's going to be there to take care of you. They just throw you out in the street.
I think there's other people that they pick.
Oh, so it's like
I don't think it's
like
a
chain of command, if you will, like a
a runner-up.
Yeah, a runner-up.
Oh, now it's me.
No.
It's the reason why they can never be on the same plane. It's like, the president, the vice president, and the joint chiefs of staff. They all got to take different flights.
Yeah. She was also at Iolani Palace when her brother, David Kalakaua, basically they knocked on the door. They knocked on the door, they answered, and they're like, so you're king now.
Dope.
And he's like, what? He's like, yeah. And he's like, well, can you go, like, confirm that before, like...
It's like, you're just, I don't even know you.
Yeah. Exactly.
You're just coming out. Okay.
Yeah.
It's probably how Harry Potter felt, you know?
Oh, yeah. You're a wizard, Harry. Yeah.
You're he heard the record scratch, and he's like, "You're probably wondering how I got here." He's like, has like a bowl of cereal in his bathroom.
Yeah.
Hagrid told him he was going to be king.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're the true king of Hawaii, Harry.
Yeah. It's an Englishman.
Yeah. It's Hagrid.
Yeah. He was proclaimed king in 1871. His queen was very much involved with Lili'uo's life, and that was Queen Kapiolani. That was his wife. And yeah, they would travel together. They would hang out a lot together. They were a part of each other's lives. You know, they were very much so family, you know, together. So something else about Lili'uo that's pretty amazing. She was a very prolific and talented composer of music. She wrote, you know, she's like, I don't know, hundreds. You know, when she's asked to write down how many, she's like, I don't know, hundreds of pieces she wrote down.
They're like, can we see them? She's like, no.
It's like,
but there's hundreds.
Only a few actually made it to print, because I mean, they're still coming from like familial chants. You know, when somebody is born or dies, you teach these chants of sort of your family's history to each other, and that's just sort of how it goes.
It's all, you know? Is it all verbal? Sort of. It's
yeah, and it's down. All these. Yeah, and there are these rhythmic meter chants is what they have. So she contributed a lot and is very influential, and I believe I'm pronouncing this right, the genre of music called the Himeni music. Himeni music.
You're saying basically, that's me like I know.
It's basically, it's combining this sort of chant, right? This meter chant with Western-styled music.
Oh.
And yeah, she's very influential in that genre, and it pretty much it's the type of music that is synonymous with Hawaii. You know what I mean? She wrote the song Aloha Oi.
No.
The song that is in Lilo and Stitch. The song that, if I were to say the word Hawaii to you, and you heard a song in your head, I will almost guarantee you it's that song.
I was going back and forth.
Did she write the theme to Relaxing on a Beach?
That's pretty much
what I was going back and forth with her, making joke and be like, oh, did all her stuff sound like Aloha? You know, like,
yeah,
and
that's
you're like,
song.
No, literally, she wrote that. And I was like, well, yeah.
It's in English, it's Farewell to Thee, you know? She actually wrote that in 1878. But when Lot was king, he actually asked her to write the national anthem, and she did. And like during that time, that was Hawaii's national anthem.
So she invented surf rock.
But a different song.
Yeah. One day, a little boy was at one of her concerts, and he was like, "I hope to write surf rock too someday." And then the parents were like, "Come on, Dick Dale, come on, let's go, not take any lava rocks, and you know,
yeah,
I don't know,
you can't take all the lava rocks."
Yeah.
I couldn't remember the name of the guy from Beach Boys. Otherwise, I would have gone with that.
Charles Manson.
Yes. I had a thing where I was like,
Brian Wilson.
I knew it was Brian.
Yeah.
A young Brian Wilson learned music and then taught it to Charles Manson.
Yeah,
it's all connected, Jerry.
I know it is. She even had this to say about writing music. Quote, "To compose was as natural to me as to breathe. And this gift of nature, never having been suffered to fall into disuse, remains a source of my greatest consolation to this day."
If she was
well, I'm just saying she wrote that sort of later in life, but she kept writing music even after
Do you think that, like,
she wrote that?
If she was born white and male in Vienna, like she would be
what?
White and male in Vienna, she would be one of the like most famous composers ever.
Well, maybe. I mean, she did play a lot of different instruments. She was one of those people that, like, she could play nearly any instrument you gave her. She played the, ukulele. She played the guitar. She played
I guess my point was
shit.
just
she played a bunch of different. I mean, she was a virtuoso of sorts. Yeah,
well,
maybe.
it's like I guess my point was that there's probably a lot of brilliant musical minds who just were born in an area that didn't necessarily allow them to become
in the same sense, because again, she was very influential and damn near created the genre of this type of music. And yeah, like, does it get global recognition the same way like Beethoven or Mozart does? No. But it's not like,
it's not
Honolulu isn't considered the music center of the world either. You know what I mean? Like that, like, it's still very, very influential. You hear it to this day, that type of thing.
What's the music center of the world now? Nashville.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Minnesota.
Portland, Oregon. No.
There's too much.
Anymore.
It was once upon a time. It was Vienna.
Once upon a time, it was Seattle. For a couple of years.
In the early 90s.
It could be Omaha, Nebraska.
New York, every once in a while it's New York.
It's
or
probably
London.
Usually New York.
I'd like to think the reason why she wasn't as known for her music is it's one of those things where, her station as a royal overshadowed. It's like when a perfectly good musician is also an actor. You think about all the hits that Keanu Reeves' band or Johnny Depp's band or Russell Crowe's band,
Bruce Willis.
Bruce Willis,
David Duchovny.
And all the wonderful music that we listen to all the time by them. But you don't
Jared
really think
Leto.
about it because Jared Leto and his band.
There's another one. Shit, I'm missing it. Sling Blade.
Oh, Billy Bob Thornton.
Billy Bob Thornton's band. So one of the first things that Kalakaua did was he signed a reciprocity treaty with the United States. And that was to basically pull the country out of the financial doom. And it sort of worked for a while. The thing is he did like to spend very lavishly. Liliu defends this in her book. She's like, all this stuff is, traditional stuff that we do. Just it was looked after by the Haole, like you're spending too much money here, here, and here. But every time, basically every time we want to spend money, they're like, you're spending too much. And every time they want to spend money, it's like they can take all they want. Right.
Well, that's probably exactly what's happening.
Yeah. And they got into debt. And every time they would get into debt, Kalakaua was one of those guys that's like, I can't be in debt. So what he would do is he would sell more land here, sell more land there,
I thought you were going to say sell his body. And I was like, oh no. Kalakaua, you don't have to do that to yourself unless you're into it.
And this is like crown land now, He's like selling crown land.
Oh no.
And he doesn't really realize what he's doing until later. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like what a mess he's in now.
It's so easy to sell land when you're not looking at it.
And you have a lot of it.
Well,
that's the problem. Is it's still finite, no matter how much you have.
Yeah, they don't have a lot. Yeah, and so one thing he does, like, almost immediately, he's going to travel around the world, and he's going to be I think he's going to be the first monarch to ever travel around the world. And he puts Liliu in as regent, the sole regent for Hawaii, while he's gone. And, he's like, well, you're going to have, like, the council or whatever. You're going to have my cabinet. She's like, no, what's the point of a regent if I have a cabinet? That's absurd. And they're like, oh, yeah, I mean, you got a good point there. So she becomes regent. She was, beloved. She travels the islands. They party with everybody on all the islands. And she looks at their, she is beloved everywhere she goes. She has
Party queen.
Well, yeah, she has a minor wagon accident that incapacitates her, but for the most part, it's fine.
Partying too hard, you trip off the wagon, try to do a sick fucking nosedive,
Yeah.
Sometimes you just wag a little too hard.
Yeah.
Nice.
Although what does happen is there is a smallpox outbreak, almost like right away.
But we got vaccines for it in like 20 years, right?
Well, what she does is she installs a quarantine and rigid ways of dealing with sicknesses as we all are accustomed to now, I assume. And it went away. It went away.
Mm-hmm.
She opened new hospitals to take care of the sick. The places where the quarantine was in place, when they lifted the quarantine, there were no more infected. So
wait,
it was successful.
Half the population didn't believe like crackpot theories and fucking die from like, I don't know, like eating like fish tank cleaner and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They didn't try anything crazy, and they obeyed the quarantine rules. Yeah.
The public health response, and it's not an endemic. It's gone. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, for now,
Yeah. Until
they would deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
They would deal with it a lot. Yeah. But yeah, it was something that she dealt with. And honestly, like, it really displays how, honestly, what a great leader she was. She was a born leader. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, she didn't give much of a chance to totally be that leader.
Mm-hmm.
She does write about, by the way, the assassination of President Garfield and how they dressed the city up in black. You know, they brought out their sad stuff. And we talked about that, right? When, yeah, when Lot was dying. Yeah, they brought out that stuff when Garfield was, well, when he died, you know.
Yeah. something, lasagna, Mondays.
Yeah. So something that's, you know, that we saw in the last episode that just kind of keeps happening to these Ali'i is that, like, they kind of die and then they die without an heir and they die kind of early, you know? So a couple of her sisters, like Princess Ruth and Bernice Bishop, they die like one after another. Suddenly, like, you know, Bernice has cancer. She dies of that. The Dowager Queen Emma, she also dies. Lili'u actually talks about the disrespect that her body was shown. Because of, I think it had something to do with the denomination as well. Like, you know, Queen Emma was an Episcopalian. They took her to like the wrong church or something for that. And while they were there, like, they stood around smoking and telling jokes and shit. And she was like appalled, you know, that they would do that at her funeral.
Like, them's fighting words.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Well, fighting actions.
Yeah.
Executioning actions. I mean, you know, it's royalty.
Yeah.
You can't just stand around smoking, telling jokes like an asshole.
That's fighting behavior.
Yeah, exactly. She's like, yeah, there's respect here. There's like a code of things we gotta do now, you know, when somebody dies, you know.
Well, how are none of these people having kids? I don't understand. Shouldn't they all have massive broods?
The economy's in shambles.
Well, if you remember Queen Emma, she had a child with Alexander Lili'uokalani, but the child died. And, you know, they both kind of tumbled into, like, depression afterwards.
Yeah, it's not exactly like you're like, let's just start over.
Let's try it again. Name them the same name. That happens in history.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. People were built different back then because
they had to be or they died.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I wouldn't replace my dog if it died. I'd be like, I just don't know if I could emotionally handle having another dog right now.
Yeah.
Let alone unspeakable, more connected versions of that story.
Yeah, you gotta have some time that passes. At least I do. I need some time.
Yeah.
But she did inherit, like, a few things from her sisters. One thing that she was disappointed that she didn't get from Queen Emma was the house that she grew up in. And I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Lili'uokalani, which means House of the Sun. Not House of the Rising Sun, but House of the Sun.
And that's S-U-N, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of the sun. The big fiery thing in the sky.
It's like, this is my son's house. You can have it, but he still lives there. And he's got a pretty short fuse.
He has like 4 Xboxes set up. Him and his crew come over and play Halo and drink way too much Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
But after it passed out of the family possession, it has since been renamed the Arlington Hotel.
Yeah.
Okay.
And another thing that Lili'u cared very much about was education of children. She founded and was heavily a part of the Lili'uokalani Educational Society. Among other things, she taught music to children. She was very passionate about that kind of thing.
Was it just music, or and were these schools like teaching more like kind of like traditional stuff, history, or were they kind of
well, it was teaching native Hawaiian children both English, the Hawaiian written language, I believe, how to basically get along in this world ruled by Haole. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's where the money was. And even though they knew that they were still the elite rulers per se, the wheels of global financial commerce are measured in dollars, right? And that's something that you kind of have to learn and teach people if they want to compete, and that's something that Kalakaua absolutely knew. So when he went on his trip around the world, another thing he was doing was he was getting more workforce, right? We talked about this last time from other countries. And something that these Haole people that especially were in his cabinet, and Lili'u talks about how, Kalakaua surrounded himself with people that wished him harm, basically. But they circulated this rumor that Kalakaua was on this trip around the world to sell the country to someone else, because it was during that scramble, you know what I mean? And there was Japan on one side, there's the United States on the other, then there was Spain, then there was Germany, and all of them were looking at the Pacific at this very particular point in time. And they were all afraid that maybe, the glory days are over, of operating these cane fields and whatnot,
America's like, we want it. Japan's like, we want it. America's like, we have it. And they're like, hold on to it for a second. We'll be back.
Yeah. Well, they this is off topic, but they would later circulate propaganda where they would say that they are the liberating force for Asians, right? Asiatics. And they were this rising sun, this liberating force that was going to take all of, it was going to liberate all of these islands that had been gobbled up by, the European powers.
I think that would be handing the reins of imperialism from one power to another at that point in time.
Exactly. Absolutely. More about that later. Kalakaua also decided to send, along with his wife, Kapiolani, he decided to send Lili'u with her to England for Victoria's Golden Jubilee in 1887 as representatives for the Hawaiian Kingdom. And John Dominus came with him. He was a Mason. He got along really well over there. But they traveled through America as well. They landed in San Francisco and then traveled across the United States and then boarded a boat to go to England. And what she talks about is that they saw places with man snow. It's not like they had never seen snow before, on top of their mountains they had seen it, but places where it's snowy all the time, it snows here, You got
some Colorados, you got some Dakotas.
Yeah. And she straight up says we threw snowballs as is tradition.
I like to put a rock in there.
Yeah.
Hit him in the ear.
You were that kid, huh?
I never did that.
Yeah.
I'm the kid that probably would have happened to.
Yeah, me too. And then I'm like, I thought you guys were my friends. And then they're like, we lied so we could hit you with rocks so that you run home. Yeah. And then you're like, okay, you got to maybe work on some jokes or something.
I got to learn to play the guitar post-haste.
Yeah. It's like, school shooter, learn some jokes. I went my way with things.
Yeah. It was the right choice.
It was the right choice. They went to Salt Lake City and, as Lili'u said, met the Mormons. She also, there was actually some native Hawaiians there that were like, oh shit, you guys have no idea who this is. Yeah.
When?
They actually went to Denver at this time. And if you'll remember, this is the height of Soapy Smith's rule per se over Denver.
No, they could have got swindled by Soapy.
We bought all this soap.
Yeah, we bought a bunch of soap.
Yeah, and we could have won $50. So we didn't, but we did get all this soap. Yeah, and it's pretty good soap.
It's good soap.
I spent $200 on it. So
the Hawaiian economy is it's gone.
Yeah,
it's soap based now.
They met President Grover Cleveland and his young new wife. He's the only president to ever be married while he was president in the White House, and to a much younger woman, which was a scandal back then. Anyway.
Wait, is it a much younger woman like 50-30? Or is it like a much younger woman like 50-17?
It's a story for a different day, simply because I just didn't write it down, and I'm not going to look it up right now.
I'm going to assume
it was young
he's
enough.
A pedophile.
Mm-hmm. No, it's really not.
Mrs. Cleveland was 13.
It's fucked up.
I didn't marry her.
Some of his dating when she was 11, so that's the real scandal.
Mm-hmm. His like
he was the Dane Cook of his time.
His like grandson or great grandson or something like that is alive and looks exactly like him somehow.
Oh, weird.
Like
I feel like I've seen a picture of him.
Yeah, they look exactly the same.
He's like old and he's mad as hell.
They both have mustaches. Yeah. They both look so alike. But yeah, they met with them. They actually went to they toured Mount Vernon, like stood in the same place as we all do. If you ever go to Mount Vernon, you stand where you can see the two coffins, you know, the above ground mausoleums of the Washingtons.
It's the thing to do.
Yeah. They went to New York City and they went to the Museum of Natural History and saw the mummies.
I've been there.
Yeah. And Lili'uo's like, I had to turn away from the mummy because it was too reminiscent of death. Yeah. She was like, it freaked me out, man. I didn't like it. Yeah.
They went to the cellar. They saw some comedians. They had to put their phones in a bag when they went in.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Like, you know, everyone's trying to, you know, comedians can't say anything anymore because they're going to get canceled. So.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. Yeah. It was so much fun being treated like a criminal.
Yeah.
For like a half an hour. Anyway.
The thing with the cellars, you never know who's going to show up.
Yeah.
You could, you know, Louis C.K. could just jump out and they lock all the doors.
Oh, yeah.
And you're in there with him for an hour.
You have to look. You have to fucking laugh at everything he says.
He's telling jokes and you try to leave and he just blocks the door.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. He blocks the door and doesn't let you leave.
Yeah, I don't
Even
know.
if you want to leave.
He's so fast. It's like he's practiced it or something.
Yeah, it's like he knows how to do that. He's done this before.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, they went to New York. They had a good time. They had some subpar picante sauce.
Yeah.
I think I've made that joke before, and like nobody who was born after like 1987 is gonna fucking get it.
New York City. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah.
I almost said that when he mentioned New York City.
I sort of said it.
You went, You're like, they went to New York City, and we're like, New York City.
You gotta bring that back. Ads aren't what they used to be. I think I'm getting old because everything. I'm just like, this isn't.
It's because everything's streaming. You don't see ads.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see the same annoying ad over and over again.
Yeah, and it's always like, this game's gonna make you come.
Yeah. Yeah, that ad. That's the only one I see.
That's on regular stuff like Hulu, right?
I forgot to check
30
first.
seconds. So anyway, here's a Billie Eilish video.
Oh no! The other day I put on I think I put on like a YouTube video for Oscar, and beforehand it played an ad for this movie where Idris Elba's like fighting like a lion. And it's called like Beast, and it was like a way intense trailer, and it was before a kid's video, and Oscar was like, should I be scared? Like he was like looking at me like what am I seeing?
Yeah.
And I was like, I think my son's about to start crying because he's scared because that guy's getting attacked by a lion.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of like grabbed him and waited for his thing to start, and then I put him back
You're
down.
like, don't worry, Idris Elba's gonna be okay.
He'll be fine.
It's
not
he's
a real
way
lion.
strong. Yeah.
He's way
stronger. He's way stronger than the lion.
Yeah.
When they did get to meet Queen Victoria, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance. You got to do this, you got to do that when you meet the Queen.
Oh yeah, it's a whole thing.
And so like, and where you sit matters too.
What if random assholes behaved like that?
Yeah.
Just like, you got to do all this stuff if you want to be me. You know?
Yeah.
You get sit there.
The guy's the worst.
Yeah.
You know how confusing the silverware is? The seating arrangement's also that confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody has to do like a do-si-do or something.
No, they did.
Before they sit down. Before like they left, because like kind of like you're done talking with the queen when she's done talking with you. You know, that's kind of how it goes.
You're not selling
so like
me,
they're standing there like what do I do now? And like she takes Liliu's hand. She goes, I want you to meet my children. And yes, those children, like basically like the kids that would like, you know, be major players in, you know, World War I a generation later. Yeah. Like, so she met all of them. I just picture them all of them like coming out like Little Lord Fauntleroy.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
like a big lollipop.
Yeah, they come out, they do a twirl, they do a little curtsy.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then they're like, you know, she's like, you know how you're done talking with me when I'm done talking with you? That moves over to my kids, so have fun talking about Roblox for 4 hours.
Yeah.
And at
Minecraft. I don't know.
age, they haven't grown out of their Cockney accents, so it's almost impossible to understand what they're saying.
Or no, it's probably one of those more like childish, like, what, mother? Please, mother, I want another chocolate.
The joke in my head was that even royalty, like they're born with a Cockney accent.
Oh yeah,
but it's like your baby.
Hello,
if you lose them, and then you get your like more like royal posh accent.
Yeah, he's growing into his posh accent.
Yeah,
they're like,
it's like puberty.
You watch Mr. Beast on YouTube.
Yeah. Hello, Gav.
You catch that ludicrous display last night.
I don't know what they fucking say. Yeah.
That's what the kids sounded like. There are soccer hooligans, but little ones.
The street kids.
Get cornered by an 11-year-old who just goes off about, like, I don't know, Elden Ring for, like, 4 hours.
They're out there. So, yeah, they attended all the royal hoopla that goes along with the Jubilee, right? Mm-hmm. You know, there's all these people that are around, royalty from all over.
Yeah, you know, that pole with the things, and you hold on to the ribbons, and you twirl around or whatever.
The maypole, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's at a Jubilee, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't know. I know the X-Men character.
It's to like celebrate it's sort of like a landmark in how long the Queen has ruled. So basically like the Queen Elizabeth II has just celebrated her Silver Jubilee. She's the longest serving English monarch to ever serve, or monarch to ever serve. I believe. The King of Thailand was he ruled for a very long time too. I could be wrong. One of those two is the longest serving monarch.
She's gotta be so tired. She's like every day she just gets up and looks in the mirror and she's like, "It's not going to be today, is it?"
It's like, and then there's a bunch of people standing around her going like, "Not if we have our way."
She wishes for death every day.
Yeah, there's all these syringes and stuff. They got to keep her propped up.
She puts a gun in her mouth and she's about to pull the trigger, and then she sees a phone call from Prince Charles and she's like, one more day just to make him suffer.
Yeah.
And
his hands just bloat more and more every day.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen that, by the way? Prince Charles' hands.
He's got reverse Trump hands.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's good. His hands are becoming
just
giant.
These big, like, swollen, meaty things.
Is it
generations
diabetes?
Of fucking inbreeding.
Probably.
Yeah. According to the Queen movie, all she wants to do is go out into like the backwoods and like drive a Jeep around.
Okay.
That's all she really wants to do.
She's like
According
Princess
to
Leia.
The movie I saw, she fucking was absolutely instrumental in killing Princess Diana, and I believe it.
That's at least story for a different day, folks. Anyway, they actually met Wilhelm I, Emperor of Germany.
Wow.
He would die like a year later, you know, and it'd be a whole thing after that, right, guys?
Yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm kidding.
But take a helmet to the head.
Yeah, but they had
put it on upside down.
Get that spiky.
They had to cut all of this short, unfortunately, because they got news of what was happening in Hawaii. So they got on the soonest steamer, right, that they could get.
Flew a Zeppelin back.
Went, yeah.
I mean, they were in Germany.
Not that time yet. They went across the Atlantic. They didn't fuck around or hang out at all, and they got on a train, went all the way across the United States on another steamer in San Francisco to Hawaii. And they did all that in like like a month or something, or like a couple of months or something like that. Like it was short for the time.
They're gonna love
what
planes.
Yeah. Basically, what was going on is that Kalakawa's cabinet had grown frustrated with him. They were saying he wasn't fit to be king. He's running up all these debts. He's trying to sell out this country. He's trying to get rid of us, and we can't have that happening. And we have the real power here, you know. And so what they did was they took the Honolulu Rifles, which was this group of like that, you know, the downtown party is what they called themselves, but they were like the Haole, right?
They were called the Honolulu Rifles?
This is the Marshall wing of the downtown party.
They're they're the muscle.
It sounds like the hottest band in Honolulu.
Yeah.
They're like, we're the
Downtown
Honolulu Rifles. We're part of the downtown party.
No big deal or nothing, but we're about to rock your fucking socks off.
Yeah. So what they did is they went
Hope you like to come in your pants.
Sorry. They wrote a new constitution, and they went to Kalakaua, and they forced him to sign it, basically at gunpoint.
The Rifles did?
At gunpoint. Yeah. Basically at gunpoint.
The same rifles that they got their name from.
Yes. So now they have a new constitution, which basically strips the monarch of all powers.
Regular Magna Carta.
It's that's what it is, and he's doing it under duress, right? He's doing it because they're pointing guns at him, right?
They're like, he made his decision. Like, he chose to do it.
Oh, he wanted to do it, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to do it because he didn't want to get shot in the face.
Right. And
with their sick-ass fucking guitar riffs.
Yeah.
And there were, you know, mobs of people going around at this time, like the prime minister, a fellow named Gibson.
Gibby.
They went to his, like, they pulled him and his family, like, out. Like, him and his son, they, like, took to, like, gallows. And they were like, hang him, hang him, hang him. And these are, like Lili'o talks about, like, people that, like, their parents taught me. Like, these super religious Christians. And she's like, Christians, huh? Some Christians. Like, wow, you forgot all that education when it came down to this, huh? You know? So...
They're like, you're literally going to be... You're literally going to be put into the gallows in paradise.
Yeah, right. They went to Gibson's house and they lassoed his daughter. And they were going to drag her to town behind the horses.
That could kill her.
They didn't find anything, so they let her go. And like the whole family like ran as fast as they could, you know, on a boat to San Francisco. And like the father, like through stress and everything, he died soon afterwards. And like his son, went back and wanted to be like a sheriff. And he was elected, and I was like, oh man, let me watch that movie. But they expelled him from the island because they were like, dude, you're just gonna try to like be with the queen and fuck shit up. And he's like, yeah.
You know when
he's like, my thirst for vengeance is what got me into this business. Now can I please start busting some heads?
Yeah, these are Wyatt Earp times, guys. You know.
You remember in Red Dead Redemption when you would lasso somebody and then drag them behind their horse, and then suddenly you knew they died because you get the like negative karma thing, ding, and then like later on you'd be playing the game and you get another ding because their father died of stress because another person, you know, just
that's why
I'm being silly.
I'm
making light of some massive suffering.
You unlock the achievement for like generational grief.
Generational grief.
I want to play that
trophy
game.
that appears.
Am I fucked up for unlocking the achievement, or is Rockstar fucked up for making it?
Right.
Well, it's also the argument. What was the game they made? Sorry to derail, but what was the game they made where like you went around like you had a voice in your head that would tell you to like kill people in specific ways? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Is it Manhunt?
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's Manhunt.
And like the voices in your head telling you like, oh, you should do that, you know, do this. It'd be super cool if you kill these people in this way. And the guy was like forced to do it. And people point out that the audience playing that game is that voice because you want to see all the fucked up, like...
You're doing it. You're the one doing it. He doesn't want to do it, but you're the one doing it.
Yeah, you're the one controlling him and forcing him to do it. So you are
could,
that
charge
voice.
up your sneak kills to be like, it was like blue, yellow, or red or whatever, and they were all different animations.
Yeah.
And then also you could wear the Xbox headset and hide in the shadows and be like, psst, over here, buddy.
Yeah.
And they would be like, what's going on over there? Like way Metal Gear style, but then when they walked into the shadows,
you like
fucked up. Fucking nail their head to the ground or some shit. It's crazy, man.
Yeah.
So is that like the BTK defense? He's like, no, there was voice, and I was the voice telling me who was powerless to do.
No,
I was just the
your thoughts, dude. That's just in your brain. You're thinking things. And then doing those things.
I was listening to two 22-year-olds who were drinking smuggling absinthe and were on an Xbox.
Yeah,
that's why I did it.
Yeah, that's why I did it. Yeah, they were really stoned playing this thing. Anyway, so basically, this is what the bayonet constitution is what they called it, and this is
that's
what
badass.
Right? It's the new constitution, and it basically gives them all the power. And the monarchy no power, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the two guys at the head of all of this are Lauren A. Thurston, who, among other things, was a newspaper guy.
Ugh.
White guy?
And Sanford Dole, whom we mentioned in the last episode.
Definitely a white guy.
And Dole was actually Supreme Court Justice of the Kingdom of Hawaii. And he was the leader of this group to make Hawaii eventually part of the United States.
Didn't we talk about
that was their ultimate goal?
Didn't we talk about how that guy dude is connected to like the pineapple guy?
He is, his nephew. I believe his nephew is the pineapple guy.
Yeah.
The name Dole is still very much in
every time
Hawaii.
you buy a Dole banana from, your grocery store, Trader Joe's, wherever it is, think about this story.
Well, we don't actually buy pineapples grown in Hawaii anymore. I believe they're actually from Costa Rica now. I believe, some of the stuff like Hawaii sugar doesn't exist anymore. Cane sugar. But know that when you buy cane sugar and you have things with cane sugar in it, it's very labor intensive. The working, conditions for some of the people where we do get cane sugar is still horrific. Here we had unions, we had things that stepped in, and that's probably the biggest reason why we don't have it anymore is because, not as profitable to make it here on American soil, so to speak, on Hawaii.
I do believe you can buy Hawaiian pineapples, but it's kind of a bigger deal, and it's like they're farmed by people, and like...
It's not an industry like it used to be. It's not. But the name Dole still exists. It's still a company. It's still da-da-da-da-da. But that company rose to prominence as a result of this.
To be fair, pretty much anything you buy, if you trace it back far enough, it goes... Some of it's not even that far back.
No,
you buy a
it's
cell
really
phone, for example, or a fucking Tesla, it doesn't take long for you to realize how fucking awful the things that
when you make
this
shit... When you make shit for as cheap as possible and sell it for as much as possible, that's what you get, right? Planned obsolescence.
Jerry, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to buy a cell phone for $5,000 that was made and manufactured in the United States?
No.
Well, some kid in Congo still needs to lose an arm mining all the fucking metals for the semiconductors.
There is a solution, Tyler, and I'll tell you what it is. Just wait for climate change to burn this whole fucking thing to the ground. Yeah,
because like one person can't really do a lot, but that's just how it works. You either do buy a smartphone for $5,000 that was made in the United States, or you are okay with the fact, which we all are complicit with, just the horrific working conditions abroad.
They fucking force us to be complicit.
Well, this is why trade deals are a thing. This is why we do trade deals and stuff, and it's a quid pro quo kind of a deal. This is a whole other conversation. Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. Went on a whole thing there.
Yeah, Lauren A. Thurston and Sanford Dole, those guys are kind of at the head of this whole thing. And, they come back, and they're like, oh, shit, they're pretty pissed off. There's a lot of their crown land that's going to be gone if all of this, goes through and all, And Kalakaua, he gets very depressed. The stress leads to sickness. He actually has Bright's disease, as we talked about in the Boss Tweed episode. And he goes to San Francisco for medical procedure and ends up dying of Bright's disease.
Is that a kidney thing?
It is a kidney thing, yes.
Okay, I do remember, yeah.
And remember, Lili'u is his heir apparent, right? She's the crown princess of Hawaii. So he dies.
Yeah, he just sold her down the river, though, as far as that goes.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, was forced to. I'm not.
Yeah. He at the end of a bayonet, right? So when she gets the throne, they're like, hey, so you want to meet with the cabinet real quick? And she's like, can I have my brother's funeral first, please?
Like, fine.
Yeah.
You were exhausting.
They straight up were like, no, you gotta take the oath of office now. And she's like, okay. So 9 days after her brother's death, on January 29th, 1891, she takes the office, oath of office, and she was 53. Now, there's something very legal to that. There's a reason why they wanted her to do that. Because she took the oath of office on the bayonet Constitution. So that oath, the oath she made, was for that Constitution. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not for Kamehameha III's Constitution, right? It was for that bayonet Constitution.
Did she know that?
She did know that.
But she didn't have a choice.
But there wasn't a lot she could do about it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At every turn, though, she was pretty astute. At every turn, she tries to poke holes in this whole thing. Mm-hmm. So the first meeting she has with her cabinet, which is the same cabinet as her brother's, she goes, they're like, hey, okay, so first things first, sign off on all of our commissions so we can be paid, and then we'll get down to business. And she goes, wait. I believe the normal thing to do when there's a new sovereign is you all need to resign, and then I appoint a new cabinet. That's how this goes. And they're like, ooh, yeah, I guess that's true. Because I wrote it hastily, and she's like, oh no, I'll hire you back, but you got to resign first. Yeah. And they were like, fuck. So they kind of have to. And she gets a couple of friendly people in there. But there's still a couple of people she has to
friendly to
include.
Her
yes
cause. Okay, not just people that are generally easy.
But she gets a few people in there who are not so on her side.
Yeah, right. She had to. Yeah, she had to sort of balance it that way.
Yeah. I guess.
Yeah,
it would have been really nice if she was like, "No, you're all fucking gone."
Yeah, but she did take great pains to say I have no loyalty to the provincial government. Because right now it's just provincial government. And they even called people like PGs, provisional government. Mm-hmm. It would not be the Republic of Hawaii just yet.
Yeah, wait till wait till you get these PG-13s. As I thought of that joke, which is a very stupid joke, you were like, it's not the Republic of Hawaii yet. And I go, oh, that's rated R.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. I'm sorry.
Rated R for Republic.
Such a fucking reach.
Yeah. Oh my god. By the way, Princess Victoria Kaiulani is the new heir. Mm-hmm. That's the new heir. Basically, everyone's trying to figure out, is Lili'u going to be like her brother and be receptive to what we're going to ask of him? Or is she going to be difficult? And she was difficult. Mm-hmm. Because she knew what they had lost. She knew that this was a huge disservice. She knew that this was a theft, that it was taking place right in front of her. You know what I mean?
I love being difficult.
Yeah.
You're like, we know
what you got to do. Yeah.
Everyone else is trying to have a good time, and I'm like, no.
The first thing she wanted to do, and this is something that they say, the first thing she wanted to do is draft a new constitution.
Yeah.
After we went through all that work. And it's like, no, I want to reinstate the last constitution. You know what I mean? That one that you took away by a coup, That one. That was illegal, what you did. I want to bring that one back. And they're like, I can't have that going around.
Yeah.
You know, I can't have her out here. I can't have a woman in this time doing that to me.
I can't have her acting like a monarch.
Right. Yeah. An actual sovereign of a country.
Yeah.
Right.
Unacceptable.
And it is important to note that summer, August 23rd of 1891, John Dominus dies of complications with rheumatism.
Is that a fancy way of saying being a beta? For a guy named Dominus.
I know.
I don't know.
A guy named John Dominus, I imagine, is a big...
Lili'uokalani always said that, like, he would never, ever side with me over his mom. Not once.
Yeah.
He would never do that. So, yeah, he kind of is, I guess the last thing he did was, flash, like, a gang sign, I guess, of the Masonic, order. He did, like, a Masonic order thing
he did
that you do.
Where his fingers make blood.
Yeah.
Because he's done with South.
It's like West Side, but upside down, so it's an M.
Yeah.
Masonic side.
Yeah. It's something.
See, I don't know if I make fun of like secret handshakes and that kind of stuff because I think it's stupid, or because I've never been like a part of an organization that has one.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
We could have come up with one.
Yeah, we never did. So I think it just proves that they're dumb.
There's still time. That sounds exhausting.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
You're like, what are you going to be like? Do you know the secret handshake? Like every time we hang out, we're going to be like
all the Mormons have the secret handshakes.
Okay.
Do they?
Yeah.
They have secret underwear.
Secret handshakes. Yeah.
They have secret handshakes.
Secret names. You're not supposed to tell anybody.
It's all fucking secret.
Now, reception in the American press, if you look up like political cartoons or whatever depicting Lili'uokalani, you will see some of the most racist shit you have ever seen in your life. They depicted her as some sort of, as like black savage queen stabbing, like people and sitting on her
savage
throne.
Brown person.
Yeah, sitting on
Sounds
her like
about right for the time.
throne of like, shit and like, dude, it's fucked up. They called her the Black Spider because she was like weaving her web and just trying to catch these guys in it,
Well, I think it's also like shit. You mentioned it multiple times that people would refer to Hawaiians as black. Yeah. As well.
Yeah.
It sounds bonkers to us, but to them it's like
they're like dark enough.
Yeah, whatever.
Like,
that's pretty much how they saw it. Oh my god, I forgot to mention real quick. They were at this party of this luau. And there was a hot air balloon, and a guy parachuted from the hot air balloon and floated away.
It just
And like all the onlookers are like, oh no, and like they took him out to sea where they knew were sharks, like shit ton of sharks. Took him out to sea, and they were like, oh shit, and like all these like boats went out to get him, and they never found him or his balloon.
I would.
It's like it was supposed to be like this thing for the special occasion. And the guy ended up just floating away.
I would hope he got eaten by a shark, because otherwise he's floating
for like a long time.
He has his parachute. You could probably float on that, right?
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
Well, no, you probably couldn't float on it.
If anything, you get all wrapped up in it and go straight to the bottom.
Oh yeah.
Do you think he jumped out of the plane and was like, "I'm gonna be a big hit at this party. I brought this giant bucket of chum." He's like, "Oh no, I'm going out to sea.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can distract the sharks with this bucket of chum."
Oh no, it just spread around me.
Yeah.
I'm just part of the chum now.
Yeah.
Oh, why'd I eat it? Now I'm filled with chum.
They can't differentiate between me and the chum.
But
poor guy.
They had to make up all these. They had to make up all these lies about Lili'u. They're like, oh, she's gonna start a lottery here. And she was like, look, guys, it was an idea I had. Other countries, including your own, have lotteries, and they build buildings and infrastructure with lotteries, okay? It was just an idea. Sorry.
My lottery chose who lived and died. It was a population control thing. Everyone acts like it's crazy. But I think it could work really well, because the last day is like the best day they've ever had. So for a lot of people, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
What are you, Thanos?
Yeah, right?
It's like where they win the lottery and they get like treated like a king for a day, and then at the end you find out that they get like euthanized.
Oh no, you're talking about like The Island or whatever. There was a movie that they made based off of it. I think it's Isaac Asimov.
Yeah, the movie is not as good as the short story.
With the Ewan McGregor,
you win
Scarlett
like the
Johansson
lottery.
thing?
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Brought to you by Xbox. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah. No, you're thinking of. There's a short story, and then I think that got stretched out and adapted into like a 2-hour Michael Bay movie. So
yeah, and what they do is they like cut you up and harvest your organs for like the real you, because you're just a clone of yourself.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Oh yeah, that is that movie.
Yeah, Ewan McGregor shows up and he's like, I have hepatitis because I'm a whore.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and he's I'll be harvesting your organs now.
And he's like, what? I've been a good person this whole time. Yeah. Anyway, another thing that was passed around a lot too, even during the Kalakaua days, was that they were going to bring in opium. Because it wasn't illegal in the Kingdom of Hawaii. And how can sugar compete with opium, right? Like... You know, Queen Victoria even wanted it more of that shit, you know?
Yeah.
So
I don't know
that
what
was
it
a
is
fear.
About it,
yeah.
But it's pretty good.
Yeah. It was a fear. Bullshit. It was bullshit. She wasn't going to do that. She wasn't going to bring in opium, you know, and like whatever. She
if anyone was going to bring in opium, it would be the Americans to get people addicted. Well, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
that's what they always did.
Yeah, that's true. It just, I don't know.
You sneak it in, though.
They didn't want the land to be used for something else.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, you're talking about growing opium.
Like, if you guys want to come over here and like work on the railroad, we'll give you a bunch of opium, and then when you get addicted, we'll blame you for bringing in a bunch of opium and stealing all the white women, and then you'll be beaten to death in a city street, and no one will care.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
because you're on opium.
America, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is they had to, you know, this downtown party in the Honolulu Rifles, they couldn't stop or slow down. They had to like ratchet everything up, and because she wants to like put in a new constitution, something that they know that Cleveland and the Democrats are totally on board with, you know, anti-imperialist type of thing, but they just got Benjamin Harrison in the White House, and they're like, fuck, we got to do this while he's president. You know what I mean? Because he wants us to like be a part of the United States, you know? So basically that with all these trumped up charges and all these things, they need the power. They need something to basically totally overthrow the monarchy. No more monarchy. They're going to become a republic now, right?
Okay.
So they take the Honolulu Rifles, and they talk to the foreign minister, John L. Stevens, who's the United States foreign minister, right? They're like, is there anything you can do? And he goes, oh, is there anything? I got the USS Boston in Pearl Harbor right now, and on board are 162 Marines and sailors. Of course I can help. We have Gatling guns. We have all these things we can bring aboard. And they're like, okay, great, because honestly, we're getting really threatened, honestly, and afraid that they're, you know, they outnumber us, and they're just gonna kill us. So for our own safety, we're gonna bring the Marines and the Gatling guns and all these people out, and we are going to overthrow this dangerous monarchy that is threatening the lives and homes and property of all of us, right? And they justify it, right, with the Monroe Doctrine. But you know, the minister John L. Stevens, he doesn't need that. Like, there's no phone, there's no telegraph, there's no anything. He has all the power he needs to use the Marines how he sees fit. So that's what they do. And Liu hears like a disturbance in the morning. She would like take a walk in the morning, and there's soldiers there, and they're pointing guns at her. And there's all this shit, you know, there are people that are like loyal, like she has an Imperial Guard too. And everyone's like, put the guns down. And like Liliu's like, yeah, I'll surrender. But she writes her like surrender letter as surrendering to the United States, which is a very deft political move. So you're not recognizing the Republic of Hawaii. You're not surrendering to the Republic of Hawaii, you are surrendering to what she called the superior military force of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So she can talk to Cleveland and be like, I surrender to you, my equal, not these thugs that are fucking walking around over here.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah.
She knew what she was doing.
Talk some sense into them. Yeah, right. She knew what she was doing. Yeah, for sure. Immediately, they formed a committee of safety, French Revolution style.
Yeah, stop, drop, and roll and whatnot.
Yeah.
What that really meant was martial law, breaking up large groups, arresting suspected terrorists, things like that. You know what I mean?
Busting the head open of anyone who looks at you funny.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, suppressing free speech, all that stuff, right?
For safety.
For safety, yeah, indeed.
You're stopping and dropping and rolling because you've been accused of being a dissenter and you've just been lit on fire.
Yeah. Indeed. So this all takes place in January of 1893. And there was a couple of people that died. It wasn't like totally bloodless, but in like, if you're like, I hate to compare, suffering, right? But it's not like some of these, French Revolution or anything like that. It's quick, it's fast, and it's all really thanks to Lili'u because she didn't want bloodshed, to happen. It's thanks to all of that we don't have something long and bloody as a result. So she actually is forced to move from Iolani Palace to Washington Palace or Washington Place. Iolani Palace is ransacked. They take a bunch of shit. Soldiers are caught trying to gamble with like jewels and shit, like old DVDs. Stuff that like they'll never get back.
They're like, I'd like to put an emerald on 32 red.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Can you not? Let me put a ruby on black.
Yeah.
Rubies are red.
That's against the rules. So Lili'u appeals to President Cleveland, the now President Cleveland, right? And she, this is after these things have happened. A lot of time takes place. Word moves very slowly in these days. So she sends word back to President Cleveland, and President Cleveland is like, okay. So he sends this guy named James Blount to Hawaii to investigate, and be like, go on a fact-finding mission, come back and tell me what you find. So he talks to all these people, all this shit. He comes back, 2,000-page document, gives it to Cleveland, and basically what
slams it on his table.
Yeah, exactly. And basically what it says is like, this is an illegal coup. You need to lock up at least fire Minister Stevens. These guys are all illegitimate, rulers. Reinstate the queen. That's what we got to do. This is all fucked, right? And the thing is people like Thurston, they know that Blount is going back with that information. So they race back to beat him there. And they do. And they're like, look, this Blount guy, he's going to come back and he's going to tell you this is all illegal and this is all bullshit, but I'm telling you, we were afraid for our lives. We were afraid that these Hawaiian savages would come into our rooms and cut the throats of our children at night and burn our fields.
Their strategy is like when you like fuck with your sibling and then before they can tell your parents,
right,
you run and try to get ahead of the story and then incriminate yourself because you know way too much.
Exactly. Yeah. And
you're so they're coming, they're going to tell you that I peed in their mouth, but I didn't pee in their mouth.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to go pee when the pee hit their mouth. So I don't know where the pee came from.
Yeah. It was the pee of the Lord.
Yeah. So there's another investigation. It contradicts Blount's investigation. And then they have a committee, right, to discuss these two investigations. And it just kind of spirals, Basically what happens is Cleveland finally goes, forget it. And he asks Sanford Dole, who's now the president of the Republic of Hawaii. He goes, you need to fucking put the queen back where you found her. And he goes, no. I'm the Republic of Hawaii. I don't have to actually listen to you.
Yeah.
You know?
You're like, I'm not technically part of the United States, so...
Exactly. And Cleveland's like, he's right. I'm sorry. What else do you want me to do? Do you want me to send in Marines to fight Marines? Like, do you want United States Marines to fight United States Marines over this? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, so he goes, my hands are tied. I recognize the Republic of Hawaii as a sovereign country. I'm sorry. And that was that. You know what I mean? And like, they, you know, like much is made of like the raising and lowering of like the Hawaiian flag with the United States flag. Let me just tell you that not a lot of Native Hawaiians were there to witness that. The ones that were there wept the whole time for their country because it was gone. You know, it was gone. So basically, there are still people that are loyal to Lili'u and the monarchy. One of these guys, his name was Wilcox, and in 1895, there's this uprising where they go to a place called Diamond Head and they have it out with the Honolulu Rifles. They fail, or no, this is afterward. Anyway, basically there's two. There's one at Diamond Head and there's one where there's two. There's two uprisings where a guy named Wilcox, he occupies the Iolani Palace and they basically get shot out of it until his followers desert him, right? There's another one at Diamond Head where they all get together. You know, a lot of people get together and they're going to face off against the Honolulu Rifles, and they fail. Both of those fail. The thing was about these is they were like, Lili'u, you have something to do with these. We know you do. And she was like, no, I don't. You're
I don't know
liars.
shit.
Yeah.
She's like, maybe you just pissed off the entire group of people and they're organizing this thing. These things.
So Honolulu Rifles, how is that not a sports team out of Hawaii?
Well, it sounds badass, but now it's exceptionally problematic.
It's kind of a fucked up, history to celebrate. You know?
Yeah, it's like Washington Redskins, hold my beer.
Yeah, right. So all this stuff about like feeling that, you know, they were threatened and stuff like that, it all stems from this thing from like the second report, right? On this whole thing where they're like, well, Lili'u, would you give amnesty to the provincial government? And she was like, I'd have to talk to my cabinet about that before I decide that. And they're like, well, what would you do though? And she's like, correct me if I'm wrong, but the punishment for treason is death. I'm just saying, that's what it is under the law. And they took that as, I'm going to cut all their fucking heads off and put them on pikes. You know what I mean? That's not what she said, but that's how they took it, right?
They want to give you back your country, but they're scared you're going to kill them. And she's like, hey, man, I didn't write the law.
Well, that's what she basically said. But she's like, I didn't say I was going to actually do that. You know what I mean? Anyway, she was arrested after the Diamond Head revolt because, there were like 300 people that surrendered that they got alive. And they were going to execute him for treason, oddly enough. And they were like, you got something to do with this, so we're taking you in. And she's like, no, I haven't. No, I haven't at all. So they check her whole place, you know, her whole house. And she's very fond of her flower beds, right? And they dig up her flower beds and they find weapons caches underneath her flower beds. Now, it was probably, in all likelihood, it was probably her gardener who was sympathetic to the cause. And she even writes in her books, like, the ground was disturbed and stuff. But honestly, if she did know, like, I don't really blame her.
Yeah. She's like, those aren't my guns. I'm holding them for a friend.
Yeah. And that would have actually been true. You know? So they take her to a military tribunal and try her for treason. And they actually try her as Lydia Dominus, which pisses her off. She's like, nowhere am I called Lydia Dominus. Nowhere. Or even Mrs. Dominus. You know what I mean? That's not my name.
They want to steal her power. They want to steal her power both, like, legally and also, like, psychologically.
Psychologically. That's why they imprison her. Like, I'll get to a little quote here in a second. But there's a whole trial, too. She is eventually found guilty. how do you plead? She's like, not guilty. Fuck you. You lie. She's found guilty. She's fined $5,000. And she's sentenced to 5 years hard labor cutting the sugar cane, which is a death sentence, especially for somebody that's like 53, 54 by now, or in her 50s. That's a death sentence. It's
such an insult for somebody who is like, royalty.
Very symbolic, very symbolic. That'd be like telling the Queen of England to go, dig in the bogs of Ireland. You know what I mean?
Which, by the way, like, it's not too late, guys.
I know, right? It's not too late to do something anyway. But you do it to your own country. If you don't want a king or a queen, you do it to your own country. And of course, they were going to execute all of these other traitors. And they were like, look, how about this, though? You don't have to pay the fine. You don't get the hard labor. We'll give you smaller sentence of house arrest. And all of these guys that we've captured that are your countrymen, we'll spare all their lives. On a couple of conditions, of course. You abdicate your throne. You renounce all of your claims, you and your families, all of your claims to any sort of throne or kingdom here. And you become a citizen of the Republic of Hawaii. And she was like, I don't have a choice. Like they called it a Hobson's choice, which is like, take it or leave it. Leaving it is like, well, okay, go work in the cane field now, So she does. She actually does have this to say about that. She says, quote, "It was my intention of the officers of the government to humiliate me by imprisoning me, but my spirit rose above that. I was a martyr to the cause of my people and was proud of it." End quote. Right? She signed this to spare their lives, and she knew that. Right? There's 300 people that were on the line here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, as far as Hobson choices go,
it could be worse.
It could be worse. They didn't have to do any of that.
No, but she lived in house arrest in pretty much her own home. She would make subversive quilts with sovereignty statements, political statements on them. Those are on display now, by the way. You can actually go see those. She would go to the United States, which she actually had to get a passport for the Republic of Hawaii to go to the United States. And she was going to visit family. She was going to go across the United States again. She went to visit President Cleveland one last time, but it was literally the last day he was president. There was nothing he could do for her. They stayed there for the inauguration of President McKinley, and the first thing he did was open up annexation talks again,
So wait, did she get to be there when he was standing in the Oval Office, but all this stuff was cleaned out, and he had that last box, and he was like,
"That's pretty much.
Don't forget to hit the lights." And it was like the last episode of a TV show.
That's pretty much how she describes it. Yeah. Pretty much like Cleveland, like leaning against a desk, like with his hands in his pockets, like, "How you been?" And like shrugging, like, I can't do whatever. I can't do anything now.
I'm not president anymore. You're not a queen anymore. Kind of happened different ways for both of us.
She's a little disappointed. And with McKinley being president, then the outbreak of the Spanish-American War, and although the Republic of Hawaii was neutral during that war, what it did is it displayed what a powerful strategic military point it was at that time. It basically gave wide support to Hawaiian annexation among the American people. So the American people loved the idea of a non-neutral Hawaii that was under the American flag, basically.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no shit.
Yeah. And also now they get to go on those Hawaiian vacations.
Yeah.
Still haven't been.
Me neither.
Yeah, neither have I. I do want to go though. Now the New Lands Resolution was passed. It was signed by the president. It was actually never ratified, though. Never ratified. So it was never actually annexed. There's no treaty of annexation. No such document actually exists. So it was sort of annexed by the United States in the public opinion of the American people alone, with a couple of shaky documents and the Republic of Hawaii handing it over is basically what so that's
where it becomes official.
Yeah. It doesn't become official. It never does.
What about now?
Well, in 1959, Ike signed it into statehood. But it was there was no document leading up to that to put them into that position, if that makes sense. So that itself makes it illegal, and it's an illegal occupation. It's been that way since the overthrow of Queen Lili'uokalani. So, yeah, in 1901 is basically the last time the Supreme Court ever heard a case on the legality of this whole thing. So maybe it's another time for that to come up. In 1993, President Bill Clinton signed the apology resolution where the United States was like, so we fucked up. We're sorry.
They're like, sorry.
They're like,
so we're going to be our own sovereign nation again? Oh, no.
Yeah, no. Well, they were like, well, give us back our crown lands. Oh, no.
Like, people who had absolutely nothing to do with it and have no intention of changing it are saying that they're sorry.
Yeah, exactly. The way McKinley justified it, he was like, it would get gobbled up by someone anyway. May as well have been us. Right? I mean, they're the bringers of you know,
peace
all of
and,
this sort of society, you know, this sort of democratic society that's, you know, amazing to all these people. At the time, there were a couple of people who there's just a few names that I want to say were against it and for it, right? The annexation of Hawaii. So here was the people, just a few names that were against the annexation of Hawaii. We got William Jennings Bryan. He was sort of a legendary. He ran for president a bunch of times, lost every time. Very influential character in American history. Andrew Carnegie, for some reason, was against it. I'm sure it had something to do with himself.
Yeah, like he was like, I can't put a hall there.
Yeah. And Mark Twain was against it as well. He had actually been there before, though. The people that were for it.
What does this have to do with my steamboats?
Yeah. The people that were for it were, of course, like basically McKinley's whole administration. So like John Hay, he was for it. Teddy Roosevelt was for it, of course.
That sounds right.
Bless.
Yep.
Henry Cabot Lodge, he was for it. And
Henry Cavill?
Henry Cabot Lodge.
I was joking.
And of course, the newspaper publishers that had a lot to gain from just all of this stuff.
Oh, yeah.
William Randolph Hearst and Joseph Pulitzer.
These guys again.
So they had the most to gain from all of this. And I just kind of want to, I do want to read you a couple of quotes here. She has a very famous quote that she mentions to Ka'iolani. I believe this is in her letter to Ka'iolani. She basically tells Ka'iolani too, like, hey, don't get any like ideas of becoming their like puppet queen. That'd be stupid, and you're gonna like that's so don't do that. You know? Yeah. But she says in a letter, quote, never cease to act because you fear you may fail. End quote, which I really like that. It's one of her like legendary quotes.
That's pretty could be on a poster.
But this part right here, this is in her book. This is taken directly from her book. This when I read this, it gave me chills, and I was like, I gotta put this in the show. You're gonna love it. Just indulge me. So quote, "Oh, honest Americans, as Christians, hear me for my downtrodden people. Their form of government is as dear to them as yours is precious to you. Quite as warmly as you love your country, so they love theirs. With all your goodly possessions, covering a territory so immense that there are yet remain parts unexplored, possessing islands that, although near at hand, had to be neutral ground in time of war, do not covet the little vineyards of the Naboths, so far from your shores, lest the punishment of Ahab fall upon you. If not in your day, then in that of your children. For be not deceived, God is not mocked. The people to whom your fathers told of the living God and taught to call Father, and whom the sons now seek to despoil and destroy, are crying aloud to him in their time of trouble, and he will keep his promise, and will listen to the voices of his Hawaiian children lamenting for their homes. It is for them that I would give the last drop of my blood. It is for them that I would spend, nay, am spending, everything belonging to me. Will it be in vain? It is for the American people and their representatives in Congress to answer these questions. As they deal with me and my people kindly, generously, and justly, so may the great ruler of all nations deal with the grand and glorious nation of the United States of America. End quote.
Badass.
There's some shade in there, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
A little bit.
Queen Lili'uokalani died of a stroke on November 11th, 1917, right at the outbreak of World War I. Well, the United States entrance into World War I, I should say. And she's actually buried...
late.
Yeah. She's buried in the Royal Mausoleum with the rest of her family and Eli'i in Honolulu. And that, my friends, is basically it, but not all, of the annexation of Hawaii. It's not the whole thing, but that's what you should understand as an American, what it took for Hawaii to become a state.
Yep.
There is still a sovereignty movement on those islands to this day, because if you go outside of the tourist zones in Hawaii, you do see poverty and just full of poverty, and most of them being native Hawaiians, and that's insanely unfortunate. And like they call them houseless, because they're like, no, this is our home. I'm not homeless. I'm in my home, but I can't I don't have enough money to have a house. I can't afford a house. You know what I mean? And yeah, rent is too damn expensive there. There's all of these things, like they're like summer homes really take up a lot of places here that could have lived here.
For natives,
They're not against tourism. You know what I mean? They just want to do it on their own terms. They want to govern themselves. You know what I mean? They've never been Americans. They're Polynesians. They've never been Native Americans. There is also to be recognized by the United States as Native Americans. There's a movement for that as well. Some people think that there's different wings to this whole thing. It's a very complex issue, and there's different a lot of people have different ways of coming at it, but basically it all comes down to land. Who has land? Who can live on this land? You know what I mean? And what that all means. If you ask me, it was never legal at any point. It was never legal.
Sounds like
that's my 2 cents. Yeah, it was never legal at any point. So, is it a state? I don't know. Maybe in the hearts and minds of some Americans. Yeah. There would be some people that fought WW2 that would definitely consider themselves Americans that are Hawaiians. Absolutely. That kind of national pride and spirit you can't get rid of.
But being nearly 2 generations removed from
having
the
it
country
ripped
being
from you,
ripped away from you, makes probably easier pill to swallow. In a lot of ways. Yeah, when when you do fight in World War II, absolutely. And that's just sort of how it's been considered, and the rhetoric has been sort of displayed. You know what I mean? You want my opinion? It was never legal.
That's
I have a fun fact. In Hawaii, aloha means hello and goodbye. So that's my contribution to this episode.
Oh God, there's such a beautiful there is such a beautiful part in Lili'uo's book where she comes back after her big trip. The last time she went to see Cleveland, and she comes up to this party and they're all sort of like amazed to see her, and they all turn around and she goes, aloha, and they're like, it's complete silence. You can hear a pin drop, and she says like with like more like gravitas and weight, aloha. And then everybody erupts in alohas, and it's like, it's this beautiful moment, you know what I mean, where she's like in front of her people, no longer with the power, still treated with the deference. And just a simple greeting, a simple hello back and forth just carries an insane amount of weight. I don't know, super beautiful. Go read that book. It's great.
Aloha.
Is this thing on?
Yeah. I'm not going to tap my actual microphone.
Yeah, I have a microphone here.
Yeah,
I could have tapped
it to my microphone that the listener can't see because
it was like I could tap it and you would hear it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
But yeah, well, kind of ends on a bit of a downer.
There's a growing movement, and I did read recently that out of populations of the world that have been decimated by colonialism, numbers of of full-blood Hawaiians have actually rebounded. They're actually coming back. Slightly, but they're coming back. Which is a positive. More Hawaiians taking up space in the land that they want to live in for the queen.
You go.
Yes.
For the queen.
My father-in-law has a condo there, so
Yeah, he's a haole.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be like, my father-in-law's a queen.
Yeah.
I was gonna be like, actually, my stepfather is.
Your father-in-law definitely is not. All right, everybody, that was our series on the Hawaiian annexation. Thank you so much for listening. We are the History Boys, and I, amongst them, am Krister Whedon, a history boy.
And I'm Tyler Armentrout, long time, first time. If you liked the show, the best way you could show your support is to just keep on listening to the show. Come back next episode, maybe listening to some of the old ones before.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends about us. Grab their phones. Subscribe to our podcast on your phone, their phone, strangers' phones, anywhere where you can find podcasts.
Yeah.
Even YouTube.
Yeah.
And if you really, really like us, you can always pay as little as $1 a month to show your support on Patreon. $5 a month gets you access to our... No, wait.
$1 a month.
$1 a month gives you access to the Discord. $5 a month gives you a shout out from us on the episode, and you get access to our Patreon exclusive content show. History Boys presents the Tyler Armentrout Project, featuring Christopher Whedon. New episodes every month. And you get access to that for the first 30 days. Every episode's out. You can pay $10 a month, and you get access to everything that I said before, but there is no moratorium on access to the exclusive content. You get it. You can listen to it whenever you want, however you want, forever. If you have any questions or comments about the episode, feel free, or this episode or any episode actually, feel free to hit us up at HistoryBoizPodcast at HistoryBoizPodcast@gmail.com.
You got it.
Or, drop into our DMs,
Right.
Why not?
Absolutely.
Just slide on in there.
Slide into our DMs.
I'm glad we got to do this one, folks. This was, of course, a fan request. Thank you again, Caleb. This is one of those important ones, that for some reason we're not taught about in school. At least I wasn't. Growing up where I did, at the time I did, I wasn't. But anyway, I'm glad we got to do this one.
Yeah.
I'm Jerry Nash, your humble history boy as always. Thank you so much for listening. I love all of you, dear listeners, so much. Mr. Tyler.
Love you, bye.
We'll see you next time. Or I guess we won't, whatever.